Hello, friends. How are we all doing this evening? Don't mind me as I just pull up the trailers that we are going to look at and cry at, because, as you can tell by the stream title, we are crying in Tales of Arise tonight. Um, the way I am planning on doing this is I'm going to do this. I have those, I think it's 3 trailers, and they're all compiled into one like 4-minute video. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do it one at a time. So we'll watch the first one all the way through, and then I'll kind of go through, talk about things I want to talk about. Any of you see anything that you think looks interesting and you want me to theorize about, or if you want to throw a theory out, please throw it into the chat. This is just kind of gonna be a chill chat stream where we get kind of vaguely hyped for Tales of Arise, even though we have no idea when it is coming out yet. We're crying because Tales of Arise isn't out yet. I would hope that that would be obvious. For those who aren't aware, I guess I should explain the stream title. Every time, specifically in Zan's server, that someone talks about a game coming out or anything, I just have to interject into the conversation just Cries and Tales of Arise. Partly because it rhymes, and partly because I get kind of sad when other games are coming out. Though I do have, there is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, and I am very, very hyped about that. I haven't had a weird day today. I had work today, and kids are always a thing. Give me just 1 second. Okay. So, I've gone ahead, I've messed around with a bit with my scenes just a hair tonight. And so, why did it just put me there in the trailer? No, back all the way. I messed around with the scenes tonight, so first off, my cursor is visible. Second off, we don't have the event list down here, and I'll throw on my webcam once we're doing the actual analysis, so that if I'm doing weird things with my hand, you can see me do it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna actually mute myself. Actually, I'll say hi to people. Hi Onyx, hi Mello, hi Mondo. Hope you're all doing well. I'm seeing that people are saying chill stream is needed, so I'm glad. This will be, I'll keep it, I'll try to keep this as chill as possible, but I make no guarantees. Anyway, I'm gonna mute myself and we're gonna go ahead and watch the first trailer. And let me know if audio is fucked. I'll try to watch the bar and adjust it down here as I can.
精霊力は世界を巡る。
これは治癒術か。シオンが直してくれたのか。
使い手をも焼く炎の剣とそれを癒す治癒の術。痛みを感じない男と触れると痛い女か。
お前たちを拘束する。
Okay, so that's the first trailer. Keep in mind, visually, this is not gonna look very great to you because I'm already watching a re-upload of the trailer is basically what this is. And I'm streaming at a far lower quality than the trailers are actually even in to begin with anyway. So that's the first trailer. We'll go ahead, jump back to the beginning. I'm gonna turn the volume down just a hair, and I'll be pausing and frame skipping and turning that on. Hello, it's my face. And fiddling thus. Okay, so starting off, astral energy. This is just kind of... I watched another theory video on this before I delved into this just to see what they were talking about. Astral energy is just kind of a blanket assumption that that's just kind of going to be the energy of this world. Like how Tales of the Abyss has phonons, Tales of Vesperia has air. Zillia has mana and the spirits. So that's just kind of the assumption we're basing this on. So it looks like we're going to kind of have an energy crisis, which seems to be a fairly typical Tales of thing at this point. I feel like a lot of the games like to play with that. So, we see Alphen. He's got the flame sword. Nothing a whole lot to say there. I want to make a joke here, actually. This orb that she's holding, I don't have any idea what it is. I'm going to assume it's something to do with this astral energy, some sort of artifact, something fancy, whatever. It looks a lot like, and this is mostly just color scheme, but it looks a lot like the Didax ship in Halo 4, which is just funny to me. If I were smart and thought ahead, I would have pulled up a picture, but I'm not smart and don't think ahead. So give me 1 second and I'm gonna go pull up a picture. Looks like one of the monkey cages. It doesn't, kind of. Not a whole lot. One of the monkey cages in Jet's episode of Avatar. I don't know if I buy that. Yeah, so, that is the Didax ship in Halo 4. So it's mostly in terms of the color scheme, which it's slightly off because I'm holding up an image on my phone. But, yeah. We'll go ahead and proceed from here. So, SHIONNE, this is SHIONNE, by the way. She's the main female protagonist. She's the Estelle of the game. And this is Alphen. He's the main male protagonist of the game. He's our Yuri. We make jokes because he kind of looks like Luger from Tales of Zillia 2, and she kind of looks like Lila from Tales of Zestiria. Only a little bit, though. So, she's a healer. Kind of disappointing. We would have loved to see more of that. Something I wanted to point out here, actually, that's a little bit disappointing to me, and it's unclear if this is the actual audio from the game at this moment, is the lip syncing is not great. So we've got sword. So everything about this trailer is just kind of setting them up to be a pair. Hello, Asim. Yes, we are being nerds on main. That's what we do here. So everything about this trailer and about the trailers we've seen so far definitely sets them up to be kind of the perfect duality. You've got SHIONNE provides a sword that is extremely damaging to whoever uses it, but SHIONNE also has the healing art to mend that damage. So that's fairly straightforward, but worth pointing out, especially because, as we will see later in the trailer, SHIONNE has the Curse of Thorns, so she hurts anyone who touches her. Alphen can't feel pain, so I guess Alphen can hug her and not get zapped. Also, my voice is kind of dead because I was working today, and 8 hours of children requires me to speak up a lot, and I'm not very good at doing so properly. So, Mondo, you can yell at me for my voice technique later. So here we see that he has both swords on his back, and we'll talk about this more a bit later. It'll be interesting to see if there's ever situations where he can dual wield these. Especially considering in Tales of Berseria, Rokuro has a longsword on his back for much of the game, and in the epilogue cutscene of that game, you see him using both longswords on his back because he gets one from his brother. I'm gonna try to avoid spoiling too much of other Tales games outside of gameplay mechanics when I'm talking about these, but Rokuro gets 2 swords on his back eventually instead of just the one, though in-game he fights with 2 daggers, so it doesn't make a big difference, but it'll be interesting to see if Alphen emulates that. There we go. Here's something that's interesting that a lot of people have definitely brought up, is the fact that we see 2 distinct outfits for SHIONNE in the trailer, because here she's wearing just a very simple white dress with a belt. That actually looks really clean, let's be real here. So there's been a lot of different theories about what this means. In the video I watched that talked about one of my friends' themes, Zephyr Revolution. If you don't know who Zephyr Revolution is, and you are a fan of just like JRPGs, Tales of, Danganronpa, indie games, whatever, he makes great video essays on all of them. Throwing out a shout out to him. He has way more following than I do, so I don't know why, but can she control it, or does she do a rogue thing where her power is involuntary? My guess is that she can't control it because of the emphasis placed in the trailer on the fact that Alphen can't feel pain. My guess is that she can't control it, and in most instances where you see someone with specifically, they have referred to it in interviews as the Curse of Thorns, and generally when you see something referred to as the Curse of Thorns, it is involuntary. It's a good question, Onyx, and it'll be interesting to see. No, but Zephyr's theory is actually that she's from Rena, which is, we'll get to Rena, it's the fancy planet. Zephyr's theory is that she actually has like her regal outfit that we've seen, then this outfit, and she takes off her regal outfit when she's out and adventuring and whatnot to kind of hide who she is. My theory is that she escaped in this, and then eventually she returns and puts on her regal outfit because of what we'll see from Alphen's outfit. That good question, Onyx. I'm very teacher-like, and I'm scared. I am an education major. Just throwing it out there. Anyway, we'll go ahead and let this play. So here's a combo. Which looks badass as fuck. So let's skip back a little bit and see what we can see from this combat. Okay, so it starts off with something that definitely looks like an art. Go ahead. So it looks like he starts off with maybe 2 arts. And I've seen these first few attacks referred to as what looks like basic attacks, which I think is possible. This is terrible. We're not going to do that. So it's interesting to see, because a big question we have in the Tales series is, are we returning to basic attacks and arts being very distinct from each other? Or are we kind of sticking with the Berseria's Asteria Grace's style of art trees, and certain arts chain to other arts, or in Berseria's case, you create your own series of arts that chain together? Is this actual combat, will the graphics stay the same? Best guess is probably not exactly the same, but probably very close. It's unclear. It says gameplay trailers up here, but I wouldn't place your stock in that, because again, this is a re-upload of trailers. This is not the official BAMCO. Whatever. But we've seen other moments of combat that look very similar to this. Also, yes, Asim, the trees do look very good in the background. You notice Asim didn't get teachered? That's good question, but you know, need to lurk BRB. That is A-okay, Mondo. The main interesting thing I see here, instead of speculating about whether these are basic attacks or arts chaining into things, is the fact that Alphen pulls out the flame sword. And so it then clearly goes into some sort of fancy combo with it that almost makes me think of like drive forms from Kingdom Hearts, like limit form specifically. Asim doesn't contribute no, Asim, you contribute meaningfully. That was actually a honestly better question than Onyx's. See, I'll make it 2 times by roasting Onyx in the process. Also, for everyone watching, I apologize about me being terrible with a face cam. I tend to look over at chat when I'm talking to you all instead of looking at my face cam like I should when I'm talking to you all. So I apologize for that. I don't use face cam like ever. So what interests me, as I was getting to with the pulling out the sword, is that tells me that there's going to be some sort of stance shift in this game. Whether that is going to be in the Tales of the Graces F style, where the main protagonist, Asbel, has 2 different fighting styles. He can either fight with his sword in his sheath, where he does mostly punches, kicks, jabs, whatever, or you can actually draw the sword and do... and that is where you'll start using more of the arts that you might be familiar with in the Tales game. So it could be something like that, it could be something more similar to Tales of Zestiria's Armatization, where in Tales of Zestiria, when you armatize, you lose access to certain things that you had control of as your character, but you gain access to others. You also become a lot tankier and are generally more powerful, but again, you completely lose access to using martial arts when you are armatized. So it could be interesting to see if it's something like that. My personal guess is it is not anything like that, because armatization and everything in Zestiria combat-wise really isn't super well received. Or it could be something similar to the Break Souls of Berseria, which is concerning to me because I dislike the soul mechanics in Berseria. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that, where we see where you expend something to unlock this power for a short time. So it's definitely going to be something along one of those lines. It'll be interesting to see if they are bringing back the souls mechanics from Berseria in order to make Break Souls like this exist in the game, or it's just something unique to Alphen. It's not uncommon that you see the main protagonist get a unique extra added something that other characters in the game don't have. The best example of this being Xillia 2, where Luger not only has access to 3 weapon types, he also has access to the Chromatus, which is just a totally unique thing that he can do. It removes everyone else from combat and basically just makes Luger on everyone else. Which is interesting. Yes, Mello, I agree. Souls are absolutely terrible. I hate them. So here we see this is a large part of why I theorize that we see Shionne in Shionne's basic white dress is going to be early game, is because here we see who I can only assume is Alphen fighting these guards with he's literally fighting them with a bar. Actually, that's actually really interesting and cool. My understanding is, from some things I've read, is that Alphen is potentially a slave at the start of the game, so this would make sense. But this looks like Alphen. You've got the silver hair, you've got kind of the blue in the outfit. He's using a long weapon in one hand. But his helmet is still on, and we'll see that his helmet will get shattered eventually, kind of to symbolize his freedom, I assume. So that is why I personally would say that this is probably early game things that where we're in this desert, which is kind of cool to see us kind of starting the game in what looks to be a desert. We see these big dudes swinging weapons, which is kind of cool. This is obviously something pre-rendered, but it looks stunning. This one confuses me because I'm not sure. This I'm still led to assume is probably Alphen, but I guess it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because she was expressing shock at seeing Renans, which makes me believe that at this point in the game we're on Dana. There's 2 planets in this game. Dana, Rena. Rena's the like super celestial fancy one that has basically enslaved Dana. We know this. This has been told to us through interviews. So I'm unclear. I'm not sure on what's happening here. Maybe part of Alphen's slavery is just searching for Shionne, who's fled Rena and is probably needed for some plot important reasons by the main antagonists who are in Rena, because, you know, why not parallel Estelle as much as we can? Which is genuinely my guess, that we're paralleling Estelle a significant amount here with Shionne. Asim, those guards look like Darkspawn Herlux from Dragon Age. Interesting. I don't know. I'm not too familiar. Shionne is coming with us. My understanding from things I've read is that her personality, she and Alphen are going to have more personality conflicts than Yuri and Estelle had, which I like. I like having conflict within the party if it's not forced excessively so. He looks very pissed off there. So here we see what I can only assume is another party member, and this must be slightly later in the game because here we'll get to it, but she probably our young character, probably a spellcaster judging by this outfit. We also see what kind of looks like maybe a our new mascot character, our replacement for like T-Po's a mascot character, Repeat's a mascot character. Mew is a mascot character in Abyss. You have, I guess, Noguchi in Symphonia, probably the closest one. You have the Norman in Berseria and Zestiria, specifically Bienfu in Berseria. There are no good mascot characters. Change my mind. Repeat. There, your mind has changed. So, but oh my god, my spacebar is stuck down. Holy fuck. But we can kind of tell in this that SHIONNE is in her kind of battle garb, I guess we'll call it. We'll wait for this to come back into focus. SHIONNE's in her battle guard. It looks like Alphen's mask has been broken. So that can't happen too late in the game, but it does tell me that probably... Yeah. Rolo in Xillia 2. I can't believe I forgot Rolo in Xillia 2. Repeat says woof, and Yuri can understand him, so he does talk, Onyx. Also, Bab Repeat, Adult Repeat, doesn't really matter. I'll go ahead and frame advance this one so we can see mascot character's face. It looks like a penguin. That's all I really have to say here. It looks like a fucking penguin. It's just a bird. It's just a bird blob. But, you know, mascot characters are just a thing in Tales, so I can't say I'm disappointed or upset. An owl. You know what? Owl is actually a little bit more believable. I'll take it. And whoever this party member is, she's clearly probably feeble. So I'm going to go ahead. We'll be advancing to the next trailer now. So I'll go ahead, turn this back up, and put myself away. And accidentally skip around every single fucking spot because my hotkeys change where I am in this, so. Noguchi, are you sure you know your animals? Because didn't you call a dog a horse once? You know, we don't need to talk about that.
ね、いいこと。私はレナ、あなたはダナ。忘れないことね。
覚えていないんだ。何も。
剣は預けるけど、力を発揮するには私が必
要。ダナと組む貴様のそれは裏切りだ。何のためにだ。何のためにお前は戦う。
俺たちを虐げる奴らの言いなりにならないため、奴隷じゃなくなるため、自由に生きるためだ。
まさに道なき道ね。私は行くわ。あなたたちが私に協力するというなら。
Okay. Yeah, we will get to her being the storage unit for a weapon, especially for one very specific reason that I hesitate to talk about because Xillia spoilers, but it's not a huge spoiler. I like it is not a story-breaking spoiler, so we'll roll with it. So first off, no idea what this place is. It's fucking stunning. This imagery combined with the fact that Rena destroyed, like, how much do these Renans have to steal from us before they'll be satisfied, almost makes me wonder, it makes me wonder if there's a war between Donna and Rena in the ancient history of the game, And even if that's something we'll get to experience in gameplay, Berseria had a prologue, a playable prologue that set up a lot of story elements. Unbeknowingly to the player, but it did. I mean, it set up a lot of story elements knowingly to the player and unknowingly to the player. You want to say Soul Eater, because they turn into weapons, they don't store them in their bodies. Okay. I'm not familiar with Soul Eater. So yeah, between the imagery of the burning flags and the marching soldiers who attend, look fucking awesome. This kind of makes me wonder about potential, I mean, I'm sure there is a war or something in the background of the game, but we'll see. So here we have Alphen holding the flame sword again. I don't know if this is where... So here we have him in his regular outfit, facing off against a massive, massive fire beast. So this makes me wonder when he gets... We'll see it later. He gets a, like, suit of armor that looks really freaking good. I should have found background music for this Balrog. I mean, it's kind of Balrog-y. The guess from the analysis video I saw is that this is a Freet, Great Spirit of Fire, which makes me wonder if Great Spirits are coming back. If this is, I'm not necessarily saying it is. It could just be a fire giant of some form. We saw something very similar. Don't even remember what it was called. In Tales of Grace's F, that was like a massive stone giant, but he wasn't gnome, so it's unclear precisely. I also just noticed this. We can see some sort of monster running away here. So this is, my guess is this is a somewhat early game boss fight, maybe the first big boss fight of the game, because we see Alphen still in his first outfit. Or what I'm assuming is his first outfit. I would assume the armor comes later. Which makes me wonder how arcs in this game are going to work. I'm wondering if there's maybe a time skip to where Alphen gets the badass armor. Like they lead a revolution against Rena, and that makes up the first part of the story. Then he becomes some prominent warrior of this new order they've created. Because my guess is that the game is going to go a bit further than just... I forgot to turn my face cam on. And now I've lost my spot. Close enough. Close enough. My guess is that the game is going to go a bit further than just the kind of conflict between Donna and Rena that we're seeing. That's just my guess. So we'll go ahead. Just play a bit more. He wants to fight. We see his eyes. Actually, frame dancing? Yes, okay. We see his eyes. They're silver. Cool. He's a badass. Carry on. We see voice actors. This is an image we see a lot in these trailers. This is interesting to me because I'm trying to figure out the context for what this is, because this almost looks like her walking very regally somewhere, like stepping down into a chamber for a big reveal or something, which is interesting. Maybe it's the first time we see her in this outfit. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I'm 100% overthinking it. Don't know why I bothered bringing that up. This is clearly putting a lot of emphasis on the fact that she's Renan and he's Donan, which means that there definitely is some sort of conflict between them. Just maybe this is in reference to he should be doing what she wants because he's Donan. Or maybe this is in reference to some cultural conflict, culture shock that they're experiencing because of each other. So it's hard to say for sure. She also almost looks disgusted with him here. He then kind of gets a soft smile. Almost, but disappointed almost. I can't tell. This also, it looks to be before his mask is broken. So I'm wondering where the mask breaking actually happens in the game. And it'll be interesting to see, because it clearly looks to be after she's gotten back into her armor. Also, his other sword looks like super rusty and beat up. So I wonder if that's even going to be a relevant weapon, really. I'm dropping frames, but it doesn't matter because it's not like I'm really frame advancing anyway. SHIONNE voice. So here we see a very small glimpse of it. We see more of it in the last trailer we'll look at, but SHIONNE's primary weapon is actually a rifle, which is very interesting because we've had Tails characters use guns before. I mean, obviously we have Alvin. One of Luger's options is guns, but I don't think we've ever had a character who just standalone uses a rifle as their weapon in the series, which is interesting and could be interesting. Oh, Patty's secondary is a gun, though. Patty's primary is not a gun. Patty's primary is a dagger. So, not 100%, but trying to think of rifles. I mean, there are cases. I want to say Tales of Innocence maybe has a character that uses guns, but Tales of Innocence wasn't really English anywhere. So, we're gonna ignore Tales of Innocence's release. Her eyes are doing a cool glowy thing here. Also, we see our first glimpse of Alphen in the armor here, which also makes you wonder if the armor is in battle and the regular clothes are cinematic, which would be really interesting and cool. Zaveid does not use his gun as a weapon. He just uses it to power him up. His weapon are his pendulum whips things that he uses. I mean, Siegfried does exist. And this clip from SHIONNE is something we'll see from another angle at some point, but clearly SHIONNE can also be a spellcaster, and her eyes kind of glow blue when she does that, leading me to assume that she has some sort of special connection with the form of mana in this universe, which we're gonna assume is astral energy. But who knows? And astral energy will probably get localized differently in the final release. Let's be real. Super clunky to say. This is just kind of a nice, cool shot of SHIONNE looking pissed and badass, and Alphen in the background, which, you know, I'm okay with. Here we see this fire giant again. They got a lot of screen time out of him, and we get now, assuming these are the same sequence, we now are back fighting the fire giant. So it's unclear if this is the same moment where the fire giant is attacking Alphen and Alphen is going to block it with the flame sword. But it makes you wonder if the fire giant is something we fight once, fail to defeat, and then fight a second time later, a second or third time later. It's unclear. Now is when this trailer, I think, takes us through like the landscapes and stuff. Yeah, we see this stunning shot. Though the first thing I'm noticing now is you see really defined outlines on, like, you see the black outline lines. But I don't know if this is an in-game shot or just a little concept animation. This, I'm guessing, is in-game. It looks like garbage because it's a re-upload. It's a 720p of a re-upload of a, it's a 720p of a 1080p re-upload of a 4K trailer. Either way, this looks really good. Here we see just a little bit of Alphen running around in the world. This almost gives me like real true RPG vibes. Like this almost feels like something that I would see in Skyrim, or I've played very little of Dragon Age, but in Dragon Age. Exactly, Asim, you're going there, Dragon Age vibes. It does give me those vibes, which honestly I'm cool with. I would be cool with the Tales series incorporating Dragon Age vibes into the world map, so long as the combat retains the uniqueness of, like, you kind of step away from the world into combat, sort of. At least some sort of transition there. Which I think they've said there still will be. It's unclear from the trailers if there would be or wouldn't be, but I think they said they still intend to do that. Sort of like taking the Zestiria attempts at making combat happen in the world, but there's still a transition, and just making the camera not as fucking terrible. Tales should become turn-based. Tales of Cristoria is turn-based. If you want to play turn-based Tales, download Tales of Cristoria. You're welcome. Otherwise, no, Tales should not become turn-based. Here we see them running. This is obviously rendered in game. So my guess is that this is actual like exploring the world. And this is a pre-rendered cutscene. We see a glimpse of SHIONNE's rifle. It actually makes me think again of something from Halo 4. Kind of looks like a binary rifle from Halo 4, but you know. We see them running. SHIONNE kind of turns and to cover their 6. Because SHIONNE's a badass. I don't remember anything. People have taken this line to mean that Alphen has amnesia. And I don't know if it's fair to do that. But it would be interesting if, like I was talking about, there's some sort of prologue. And Alphen is in it, but he doesn't remember it because of his amnesia. Which would be really interesting. Because the other Tales game that does amnesia is Tales of the Abyss. And Tales of the Abyss, if you've played it all the way through, I know Mondo said he was lurking, but he knows that the amnesia is actually a big subversion of expectations for a not late plot twist in the game, but a significant plot twist in the game. So I would expect amnesia, if it is being used, it is not going to be used in a tropey way. It is gonna be well utilized because, again, Tales of the Abyss does a great job with its subversion of what you expect the amnesia to really mean. And Mondo can back me up on that. Whenever he gets back, I'll definitely bring up the fact that we talked about amnesia and Tales of the Abyss. Here's the scene where Alphen draws the sword. So this is... We've made fun of this scene, actually. There's a character that we haven't even met in Tales of Xillia yet. Named Muse. And Muse also has a sword that can be drawn out of her, much like this one can be drawn out of SHIONNE. And it's interesting here, this line almost gives me a sense that there's insecurity in SHIONNE because she's trusting Alphen with the sword, and she almost worries that he's just gonna like ditch her, but he still needs her to control the power, which is very similar again to Muse's sword. Muse's sword basically just gives the wielder the ability to directly channel Muse's power, which we'll get there in Xillia. We'll get there. All you need to know is that this is not the first time we have seen a sword get drawn out of a woman, which sounds so very, very strange to say. It's like there's a TikTok sound that's, if I had 2 nickels for every time this happened, then I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot. But it's weird that it happened twice, right? Holy shit, what a phrase. Correct karma. How are you doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. I thought it was from Phineas and Ferb, yeah. So in this case, if I had a nickel for every time that someone drew a sword out of a woman in a Tales game, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Which is a TikTok I will probably make at some point. Anyway, back to frame advancing very rapidly. We know who the character designer and art director is, because that is an important role for Arise, because they want it to be good. Here we see some city that is clearly not, that has clearly probably, I hope, seen better days. Almost looks like you can see massive structures up here in the background. We're gonna be TikTok famous, Lamau. You know, you never know. My first Tales of TikTok didn't do too badly. And honestly, every TikTok I make will just be some shitty joke applied to TikTok. Yeah. Anyway, so this is a city that has clearly seen better days. My guess is that it is on the planet of Dana and was ransacked by Rena. And then it is immediately contrasted with this city, which is so beautiful looking, in my opinion. because it's the most lively design we've ever seen for a city in a Tales game. You've got like flowers in these balconies. You've got drapes from building to building. You don't see any people, but I'm hoping that these cities are as populous and vibrant as the ones in Berseria and Zestiria, but even more so, basically. Your computer big froze, but wow, beautiful city. I mean, the only thing moving on screen really right now is my face. Ah. Karma, random manic moments is your middle name, so I hope that that is what your TikTok will be. Gives you Novigrad vibes from The Witcher. Can't say I'm familiar, but this is what I have my phone for. Looking up random images of things people say. Novigrad with 3. I realize that I'm probably saying that horribly wrong. Oh, I can see that, yeah, for sure. The big, lively town. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely can see that. My assumption is this is probably a prominent city in Rena. My guess wouldn't actually be the capital. It doesn't look quite cool enough. Though it's possible... Where was that earlier shot? This shot right here that you can kind of see in my quick play. Not quick play. Whatever. The time bar thing. Whatever the fuck it's called. It's very possible that that could be the interior of this big building up here, which I would find totally believable. There we see Alphen break his mask, which clearly comes before he gets the cool armor. This almost looks like it happens in a cave or something, and it looks like he does it himself. So my guess is the mask is a symbol of his slavery, and him breaking it himself is him basically putting that behind him, almost. In a weird way. Breaking himself free, I guess is a better way to put it, but still. Hello, Alphen, you are a badass. You allied yourself with the Donna, new trader. I'm guessing that is talking to, SHIONNE from a Renin. That would make the most sense. Unless we just have the cities, our planets totally mixed up, which is very possible. Here we see the Fire Giant again. This is like the third time this trailer we've seen him. Like I said, they're getting their money's worth out of this one big boss that they've animated so far. It'll be interesting to see what role he plays. Here we see, once again, we see the Didax ship from Halo 4. There wasn't a whole lot else to say here before. You can kind of see these particles coming out of it, I guess. I guess that could be a reference to the astral energy that's dispersing. That was that at the start of the first trailer? Yeah, that was at the start of the first trailer. So this is what I can only assume is somewhere on Donna, because we see the ravages of warfare. We saw this same flag early in the trailer burning. My guess is this is a flag of some, either of Donna the planet now, or of some ancient civilization on Donna that was destroyed, then history rewritten by Rena to kind of be different. Because we'll get to the lies. The third trailer has things in English, shockingly enough, so we'll get there. Here we saw, first off, Animation Studio Ufotable. They're really good. We are glad that Ufotable's back on it. Here we see Alphen actually using his long sword that is not the flame sword. We see SHIONNE with her rifle again. But we see the flame sword is still on Alphen's back, which tells me that we'll still use the regular sword. Karma Ufotable has been working with the Tales games since Xillia, actually. So all of the cinematics, so like opening cinematics and any in-game cinematics in Xillia, Xillia 2, Zestiria, and Berseria have all been done by Ufotable. We're glad that they're back for this one. The Tales of Zestiria anime is also done by Ufotable. And which, by the way, the Tales of Zestiria anime, terrible retelling of Tales of Zestiria, really good anime all the same. It's meant to be a different story from Tales of Zestiria, using the same characters set in the same universe with a few twists. Stop lagging. Here we see the glowing blue eyes thing again. It's a lot more prominent this time because we're seeing this aura effect from them, which tells me that this isn't just a lighting effect they're doing. This is actually significant, which tells me that it's possible that every character will have some sort of form shift. In the same way, like we had discussed, I don't remember if it was this trailer or last trailer, Alphen drawing his sword seemed to be kind of a form shift for him. Whatever this is for SHIONNE could be that for her. This actually almost gives me Ruby vibes with, I want to say it's the maiden's kind of eyes get that little flaring sort of deal. Either that or she's just got magical blue winged eyeliner. Ufotable did Demon Slayer stuff? Okay. I'm not super familiar with Demon Slayer stuff, though Trevor and John were trying to get me to play it a bit. Also, we get this fucking badass as hell shot that I just paused at the perfect time. Look at that. Look at that. No, fuck. I forgot. Damn, dude. Okay, I can frame reverse back to it. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't this such a good shot, dude? Doesn't SHIONNE look like such a badass? Like, when I first saw the stuff for this game, I wasn't entirely sold on her design because I thought it was too much like Layla. And now that I've seen more of it, I'm like, you know what? Never mind. Fuck that shit. SHIONNE had better be a good character. Please don't just make her a Sharia clone. Sharia is bad. As are most things in Tales of Grace's F. But yeah, so we see some cool shots here. The subtitles are talking about free us from the yoke of our abusive oppressors, which tells me that definitely the plot of at least the first chunk of the game is going to be kind of a rebellion against Rena for Donna to kind of, yeah. And here's actually the first short little glimpse we see of SHIONNE in gameplay. This art she's using here actually looks very similar to some of the arts from water armorization in Tales of Zestiria, which I've just now noticed. Water armorization in Tales of Zestiria is bow. And so you shoot like wet, like curved arrows like that, like this, like what SHIONNE's doing here. I'm gonna go ahead and let it actually like play. You very much see something that looks similar to that. And then over here we see Alphen using his regular sword just a bit in combat, doing what looks like just another, again, kind of up for debate. Is this something that's like a basic attack, or is this a low-level art? We don't really know. I would be surprised at this point if they removed art trees from the Tales formula, but I would love for them to do so. I'd love for us to go back to chain arts together in certain ways. Sort of finding a way to take Vesperia's combat and make it a bit more fast-paced and a bit more accessible to new players, because Vesperia's combat can be a bit complex for people new to this. Not super, not as bad as some games, but it's not great. This looks like, again, a shot from the early game. We see Alphen is in what looks very similar to the outfit that he wears for much of the trailers, not his armor, but his regular outfit, but it's tattered, which tells me that Alphen will get 3 like regular outfits as part of the story, which isn't like too surprising. Velvet also gets 3 in Tales of Berseria. She gets her prologue outfit, she gets her tattered prologue outfit, which is what she has right when you get out of the prologue, and then she pretty immediately picks up her main game outfit. But the tattered prologue outfit is distinct, and you do get to keep. Saray also had 2, because he had Traveler's clothes and he had Shepherd's outfit. So it's not a lot to be surprised that Alphen's look will develop over the course of the game, and so will SHIONNE's. We see Alphen being a bit of a badass here. This is back on the train in that desert area that we've seen a few times. Here's a bit more adventuring. This looks to be that same early game area, but this time we're seeing Alphen in his armor, so it's unclear. This could be later in the game. Here's a moment that a lot of people have latched onto in these. I paused it just a hair plate, we'll go back to that and look at that frame by frame. We actually see a quick dodge here, is what we're seeing, which is something that emphasis was first placed on quick dodging in Grace's F, where it's a key gameplay mechanic. It became less significant in Zillia, where it was mostly just used to trigger a few things, Jude's snap pivot being one of them. So the Jude's special unique ability where if you do a quick dodge in perfect time, he'll jump behind the person that he's fighting. So here, as we see the hammer come down, and we see this blue light envelop Alphen, and we see it stick there for a moment. So my guess is this is either that this is actually something like a skill or something that actually gives Alphen power up from doing a quick dodge, not just the basic. In Tales of Berseria, when you do a successful quick dodge, you can get a soul back. In Zestiria, you just gain SC, which is basically the game's equivalent of TP, except it functions a little bit differently. It's what you consume to use arts, but it literally just constantly regenerates during battle. As opposed to arts, where TP only regenerates when you do basic attacks. So, it's interesting to see that quick dodging will make a return. And instead of just being a simple sidestep, it's an actual dodge roll. Which makes it even more interesting. It makes you almost wonder if they're kind of getting towards not entirely Dark Souls-y Sekiro sort of combat stuff, but taking certain elements like the dodge roll from this very successful franchise that has earned its respect largely due to its combat and gameplay. I don't know what joke that is, Onyx. Whatever joke you're trying to make. Here we see just another combo chain. So we see this thrust forward, punch up lightning thing that chains into... That looks like another art because you see some lightning from it. Here we see this is probably some sort of boss fight. We see Alphen and SHIONNE fighting this boss. Doesn't look like we really have... This, I would guess, isn't actual combat, because that camera angle sucks ass. So here we see... Here's an interesting shot, is we see what I can only assume are other party members. So we see this guy here, who looks to be dressed similarly to Alphen. So either they're both slaves, and this happens to be slave outfit, or Alphen is potentially some sort of freedom fighter, which I also find possible, given that he's clearly experienced with fighting in anything. So, do we know anything about other people in this game? No, we currently only know about Alphen and SHIONNE. We don't even know if these two are other party members or not. But we see this guy who looks like he could be a tankier, slower fighter, maybe a brawler type, something like that. We see SHIONNE over here in her early game outfit, and Alphen here in his kind of tattered clothes, which tells me that this is probably early game. So these may not be party members, or we meet party members early, they don't join us immediately, or they've just withheld footage of other party members because they want to focus the trailers on these other two characters. It's possible we get a full party a little bit, or at least a substantial party a little bit earlier in this game than we do in other games, as opposed to, say, Tales of Berseria, where you don't get your second party member until 4 hours in, maybe. You do the entire prologue, you do the entire first dungeon, you do some other stuff before you actually get the second party member in the game. This actually looks like... I actually can't tell if this is a boy or a girl, because the face structure is also almost kind of feminine, so it's hard to tell. And then we also saw at the end of the first trailer we watched kind of the mage-looking girl, the back of the mage-looking girl somewhere around there. So there's not a lot to tell. Whoever this is looks like they could be a little bit more roguish, which is cool. But this is really the only clip we have of these two characters. I haven't seen them in any other clips we've looked at, so Yeah. And I think
まさに道なき道ね。私は行くわ。あなたたちが私に協力するという。
this is just a really nice shot. You see this cool city in the background, you see this cool landscape, some tower over here. The water looks great. This is just this is just Bamco showing off that they are back meaning business with the art direction of this game. I mean, the first person they have cited here in these little credits is the character designer / art director. So that is that trailer. So I'm gonna go ahead, disable my face cam. Once again, 2020, so that was a fucking lie. Yeah, well, you know. Also, it's worth noting that so far, the PS4, Xbox One stuff has not changed, which means that my PC should be able to run this game. I think we have one trailer left, which is the announcement trailer, so we'll go ahead and let that play.
A tale can be woven from either fact or fiction. On our mother planet Dana, it has been handed down that Rena, the planet in the sky, is where the dead and the divine reside. Rena unleashed disaster upon our planet Dana, robbing us of our history and freedom. A destined encounter of two people born of different worlds. Can they deny their fate and forge a new path? Now is the time for change.
Okay, so there's not a whole lot of new stuff in this trailer that we didn't see in the other two trailers. First off, the music in this trailer is fucking awesome. If that's the level of quality we can expect from the rest of the soundtrack, I'll be happy. Just a note on soundtrack, if Goshin is involved, it'll be good. If Motoi is the only one doing it, it'll be fine. It'll be good. It won't be as good as the Syria. So we'll go ahead, turn this down. I'll just go ahead, play through this again, and kind of pause it at moments that are new. Like here we have the cloud stuff. We haven't really, we saw that. There wasn't a whole lot to say about it, except that it's a kind of an image showing that there's different worlds. We have SHIONNE walking down the stairs, which is cool. We have a shot of this city again, yeah? Yeah, we've got a shot of this city again.
On our mother planet Dana, it has been...
The big one with this one is that the narration gives a lot of context for a lot of the things I've been saying. I would have preferred that we had started with this trailer, actually, because this was the first one. This was the E3 reveal. But, you know, can't get everything. It's okay. We can be sad. I mean, I'm already sad. Look at the stream title. I forgot to turn the webcam on again. I'm back. So yeah. This is stuff we've seen. This is a shot we haven't seen. I mean, it's not a significant shot, but it's interesting. We see more of these. Almost wonder, these don't look supernatural to me. I mean, they could be, but it's also possible that they're remnants of something from an ancient war or something. We see our snow place again, which is really cool. The snow looks really good. Again. So that was a fucking lie. Putting his hand to his face and bringing off his mask is so Persona 5, and I'm here for it. As am I. Does this Tales game have vampires? I don't know. Here we see another shot of our friendly fire giant. We see our shots of the remnants of war that I kind of talked about. We see potentially the inside of that cathedral-like place. Scene of SHIONNE walking down the stairs. Them fleeing. He draws the sword out of her chest.
And forge a new path.
Break free. Which is a big reason why I would say that it's likely that. There we see him use the flame sword in what doesn't look like the kind of finisher combo that we had seen before. Which does make me wonder if there are basic attacks and if they're just showing really flashy late game things. Because my guess is this is battle just shot from a really awkward angle because it was probably filmed in auto mode, and the game gives you funny camera angles when you play the game exclusively in auto mode. Fun fact, you can play Tales games without ever participating in combat. Turn on auto mode, you don't have to fight. Here we see the quick dodge again. We see this little combo again. That's a shot that we hadn't seen before. I like the inclusion of stuff like this, where her weapon literally phases into existence. Because it kind of gives, like, it lets things make more sense. First off, it gives me even more vibes of this being a weapon sort of like Promethean weapons in Halo 4, because a lot of them just kind of, like, the parts all just kind of come together, like Iron Man's suit in Iron Man 3. But it also is, like, in Tales of Xillia, you get, like, these really awkward clips where Alvin, like, reaches behind him and then suddenly has a massive fucking sword in his hand. His left hand that he does that with. I think his left hand is the sword, the right hand is the pistol. I don't fucking remember. But, yeah, so it makes where they keep these weapons way more believable, that they just pull them out of somewhere instead of, like, actually having to have them, instead of them just coming out of nowhere. Obviously Alphin's swords are on his back, and you can see that, though. We see a few more shots of Alphin. We see that shot of that monster, which is the same boss that we saw the basic attack from the fire sword on. We see someone over here. I don't know who this is. Whoever this is, looks like a she, does not appear to be super friendly, so I'm not gonna guess that they're another party member. Especially because they don't seem to be, like, engaging against this monster that we clearly fight. So I'm guessing this is some antagonist of some form that we don't necessarily know anything about. This looks like almost like a skag from Borderlands. This looks like a monster from Borderlands, straight up. Don't, like, not even gonna lie. It looks cool, though. So there we saw Alphin absorbing energy into the flame sword from the fire giant thing. And that one is interesting to me because it tells me that the flame sword's power likely isn't complete and grows over the course of the game, which lends me to believe it could be something sort of like Luger's Chromatis. Dane Nomos action, kind of like that. The concept of it being a game mechanic that grows in power through the game being similar to Luger's Chromatis in Xillia 2, where you get the first level early on, the second level about halfway through the game, don't get the third and fourth till the very end of the game. You literally get the fourth in the middle of the final boss fight. But also it is kind of similar to Dane Nomos, except Dane Nomos doesn't absorb the power, it disperses the power. Which, to be fair, they did say... What is it? Astral energy is dispersing? Yeah, astral energy is dispersing at the start of the first trailer we looked at. So, you know, I mean, it could be kind of Dane Nomos vibes. We see that orb again. Here we see them blowing up the train, and this almost makes me believe this isn't as much of a desert as I maybe thought it was, because we see, like, some greenery here and there. Here we see our couple of characters again. Here we see SHIONNE. It almost looks like she's trying to smash this orb, whatever it is, but it's really unclear. Whatever this orb is, it's clearly something significant. Whether it is the source of someone's power or something else, who knows? It's hard to say when we just have a vague looking orb, like artifact sort of deal in a trailer like this, but it's clearly going to be something significant. More cool shots of Alphin with the flame sword. We see this badass shot again Flame Giant again. Zoom in on Alphen blocking again. And I think that's it.
Now is the time for change.
We get this very nice... We get this very, very nice Tales of Arise mixed with what legitimately just sounds like National Treasure music to me. So, yeah, that took way longer than I expected, going through that, like, 4 minutes of trailers that we have. As far as things we've learned after the fact, we know that the game's, like, late in development. I'll talk a little bit about, like, personal desires I want from this game. I've mentioned I kind of want the combat to go kind of back to a pseudo-Vesperia Xillia-like combat style. I'd love for the game developers to find a way to mix the amount of thought that goes into Vesperia combat with the speed of Xillia combat. I think that would create a great combat style, but again, they've said that this is really a development of what they've done in the past, so it could be... I mean, my guess is it's not going to be really similar to anything we've seen before. I want Goshina in for the soundtrack because what he did with Zestiria's soundtrack working with Motoi Sakuraba is just fantastic. It's one of my... It is legitimately my second favorite gaming soundtrack of all time behind Halo 3 ODST. And, I mean, Tales of Zestiria is nowhere near my favorite Tales game, so... What else? Open world stuff, kind of like Zestiria, would be really cool. Zestiria is not an open world game per se, but it's got much wider areas than the other post-world map games do. It's got much more open areas, much more explorable areas. The world of Zestiria feels more vibrant because of it. The game feels more immersive than even Berseria because of how in-depth the world is and how vibrant the cities and areas are. Voice cast, I just want a quality voice cast. Like, I don't know why I'm like head wishing that we get Chris Hackney, the voice of Dimitri, to voice Alphen or someone significant. Will it happen? I don't know, probably not, but there does tend to be a crossover sort of deal. I know that Christian Lamonte, the voice of Ignatz, worked on Berseria, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see them all kind of do work stuff. If we get to see some Three Houses voice cast in this. I'll be ending stream a little bit pretty soon here because I honestly don't have an interest in doing chill Halo stuff. I'm pretty tired. I wanted to get a stream in early this week, and I wanted to go ahead and do this because I've been excited to do this. So yeah, honestly, I just want the game to come out, dude. I just want the game to come out. I've had a thirsting for new Tales games. Trying to go back and play like the old Tales games like Fantasia and Destiny hasn't done a whole lot for me, not gonna lie. As interested as I am in them, part of me just wants to wait for them to get re-released because I feel like it'll happen soon. Especially with them making jokes in one of their animations about reintroducing Fantasia to a new generation. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and probably end stream there. Sorry it ended up being shorter. I'm not really vibing. There's not enough time left in the evening for me to do any Xillia stuff. I don't want to do Halo. I'm sitting at 420 frames dropped. That's like a perfect number for me to end at, I feel like. So, yeah, I'm probably gonna export this to my YouTube and put it up tonight. For anyone who missed this, come and watch my big nerd thoughts. So, thank you very much for watching. If you hung out for this, I'm gonna go ahead and, I mean, actually the logical thing to do here, see if there's anyone to raid. Give me a minute. It is like super early. I'd be surprised if there's anyone for me to raid right now. Yeah, there's really not. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all for hanging out. This was very fun. I don't quite know when I will be back for more Tales of Zillia. Probably not tomorrow night because I'll be exhausted from school. Not school. What the fuck? Work. But maybe Wednesday or Thursday. So thank you all again for watching. Hope you have a lovely rest of your evenings, and I'll catch you all later. Bye, friends.